Tonight's episode of Blog Talk Radio, we're discussing police accountability in the second half of the show. In the first half of the show, we're talking about how Major League Baseball interfered with their opinion of Georgia legislature and how voting rights are going to be altered, but more so how entertainment is trying to be persuasive. And there's a lot more to say about that later in the show. We're also talking about new programs to protect and serve Mexican and Central American youth in Southern California and all the services they're receiving, and some people agree with it and some don't.
If biblical prophecy is right, we will see what happens with the 1,200-year-old dynasty of England in the next few years. Prince Philip died on April 9th, 2021, and the Queen turns 95 on April 21st, I think it is. I know it's 5 days before my mother's birthday was April 18th. I believe the Queen was born the same year on April 21st. So she's 95 years old. I'm sure she has assistants running the royal family, and there's really only one leader in the news these days, and that's England. And there's some crap going on in Greece, but Joe Biden's really not noteworthy in the alloys of history. And I would like to explore that topic with my host. Also, I just temporarily titled the show The Legend of Life, The Legend of Love, and the Demise of Colorado Mike, because I'm still lamenting the loss of our breakup. It kind of puts a hole through your soul when you have a breakup with somebody and you start seeing the world through another perspective. But then there comes the artistic flourishing. So I'm going to finish my painting on the Basilica in Moscow Square that I started 2 summers ago. And hopefully I can recover fully. Other than that, I'd like to hear other people's main headline news topics or something they'd like to discuss. So I'm going to pull in the hosts. Good evening, Suzette. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay.
I'm sorry for the loss of your dog. Was it expected?
No.
Really?
It was, yeah.
I'm sorry.
Breakup. Well,
yeah,
busy.
The breakup it does have major significance in my life, but I was going to relate it to other subjects, but I'm probably not going to talk about it unless we run out of ideas.
Okay. Well, my topic that I brought to the table is Kagan says conservative justices compared apples and watermelons in ruling for churches against COVID-19 restrictions.
That would be good. I'm going to pull John in, and then you can present your topic. And I will talk about my secondary topic later, but I do find it, I just wanted to mention one thing about my intro. Like, it just seems like lately, even John said in the tabloids, that all eyes of the world are kind of focused on England half the time. And well, it's only because one of the princes married a very beautiful, attractive American in the last few years, and then a few things fizzled. But I still find the obsession with the royal family to be something of major impact, but it's kind of hard to understand at times. So I'm going to have you present your topic after John says hello. Hi, John.
Greetings, Jane Hoffman.
Greetings, John.
We just got off the phone with each other.
Yes, we did. We talked great conspiracies.
John's
Probably
dating an 88-year-old from Nazi Germany. No, just kidding.
Well, actually, yes, we have a friend that is helping a family, and actually, it's my almost girlfriend.
We meaning him and his girlfriend, not me.
Well, kind of almost girlfriend. I don't know what you would call it, but she's helping. It's really weird because I'm helping her house sit in Marina Del Rey, and she went over to help one of her best friends who is having health problems. He's having panic attacks, and like his heart starts racing for no reason. It goes up to 100, 115, 120 beats, and that's kind of like when you're running, or hard. Even harder than that, because sometimes people go 90 to 110, and for no reason, and stress, who knows. And then the doctors are throwing meds at him like Xanax and other things that create incredible health issues. So,
like Molotov cocktails, because they have too many different drugs in their system.
Like they give you drugs to fight, say, suicidal thoughts, except the drugs give you suicidal thoughts, things like that. Or, they give you medication to stop heart attacks, or the medication causes heart attacks. The doctors are incredibly crazy. They're mad scientists, and the public puts all their trust in them, or at least most of the public does. And that's another subject that we can talk about. My proposed subject is Donald Trump just a tool of warfare to basically, like a false flag, he's to attract, or in other words, there's no left or right.
Well, now you bring in my subject, and remember, Suzette, I just got done telling John, and I am going to have you go, Suzette, but I told John Trump was born on June 14th, 1946. And if you add 6 plus 14, it's 20 plus 46 equals 66. And John's always talking about conspiracy numbers.
I love conspiracy numbers. And so the kind of thought is he a plant in the system? A common strategy of warfare, political warfare, is to take people and place them in both parties and have them fight. It's kind of like if you can imagine WWE, the Wrestling Federation thing. You know how you'll have the good guy will be like the Hulk or the Rock, and you'll have the people like the Undertaker or whoever. They're the bad guys, and you'll see people cheering. The Rock finally, here he shows up. He's been pinned or he's being knocked around in the ring. And it looks terrible, and suddenly he gets up, and or they'll bring in someone to help him. Like you'll hear an alarm sound, and they all look up in terror, and then here comes the Hulk to save the day, or whoever it is. And it's all, you sit there and you go, okay, it's all planned. It's just theater. It's like they're all the same team. They're just creating good and bad to.
Donald Trump was more than theater. He was Miley Cyrus's wrecking ball.
The ultimate wrecking ball. So there is a theory, and there is.
Okay, but can you keep in mind that I told that she could go first?
In fact, I should actually shut my mouth for a while because we need to hear from the lovely Suzette.
Oh, I don't mind. Go ahead. I don't mind. Go ahead.
Okay, just go ahead and finish, John. You're entertaining. You have 7 minutes. Albert's not on the air to cut you off.
Oh man, I got open field in front of me to run. So kind of the concept is just kind of a quick overview is the fact is we see Trump today, he's replaced the Republican Party. He owns it. So like the Republican Party can't do anything if Donald Trump opposes it. Whatever direction he points it, it's got to go because he controls 80-90% of the base, loves him. Like he not just likes him, loves Donald Trump. And would, you probably if you line some people up to take a bullet, I mean, I would. I really would. I was like, hey, this is the dude. This is the conservative guy. The point is this. He's never been a conservative, in his life. He's been flip-flopping between Republican and Democrat. He really, previously, he wasn't like a good church boy, more of a party kind of guy, not a strict moral person, kind of like, well, whatever's around, let's tap this, let's tap that. And not that he was a whoremonger, but just he lived the life of a billionaire, bachelor for a while. And his attempts at marriage, 3 marriages, or I guess he's working on his 3rd marriage. So he's not a Boy Scout, is what I'm saying. And yet he's leading the religious right. I mean, that's going to be, he picked Pence to get the evangelicals.
Was Donald Trump on your mind before I called you?
No, it's just the whole idea, the concept, because Slick, my musical brother, played a half-hour video of a very strict religious guy who's very well in tune with things, and he just says, don't fall for this whole thing. It's a false flag. Like, Trump is not legitimate, and he goes into great detail. It Trump about 3 years.
How recently did Slick say that? Because as long as I've known him, he's been a Trump supporter.
Ever since the inauguration, where you didn't see people get arrested, you didn't see the rise of Trump and the military and overtaking the deep state and all this stuff of, trust the plan or QAnon kind of thing. So he's kind of gone. He's in between. He understands there's fraud. He understands there's a deep state, but he just feels that the whole thing is kind of a fraud, or it's not like
it imploded.
Trump didn't stand up and like he was saying, he should have just taken over, gotten the military, arrested people, and don't give a damn.
But that would have been
anyone
treason.
Yeah, well, kind of. If you look at what's happened now, is just everything fell apart. You have Joe Biden just going crazy. I mean, just crazy. He's doing everything in the first month or two. Like he just proposed yesterday, had a committee look at loading up the Supreme Court. Like, just flood it with whoever you want, so that way they'll load it up, like instead of.
Isn't it full now? Isn't the Supreme Court full now?
It's full, but the concept is, let's just add 10 more, and then we'll just make them all liberal. So then it's going to be, I don't know what, to maybe 13, 14 to 6 or whatever the number is.
Okay, well, I have an idea. A lot of people are not paying attention to what Biden's doing because he's so low-key. So we'll get to that in 13 minutes, and then I'm going to have Suzette go with her topic tonight, because the stuff you're discussing is rather broad-ranged.
Quite.
Like it's going to take an hour to wiggle through all that stuff. So, Suzette, I did hear something about the Supreme Court Justice or Cagle or whoever you were talking about. So, and John, I'm not blowing you off because you have free reign tonight. It's just you, me, and Suzette, and Don's late. So I will text him before that. But Suzette, why don't you go ahead?
Okay. Well, on I guess it was earlier today, there was a Supreme Court that had, ruled in California's case with churches against the COVID-19 restrictions. And Elena Kagan, Justice Elena Kagan, said that conservative justices had compared apples to watermelons in their rulings. And I don't think so. I think the U.S. Supreme Court, it came from the Ninth Circuit. So
what were they ruling on?
Churches against COVID-19 restrictions.
Okay.
And because the churches were saying, well, how come we can't open when there are other, things that are opening? How can you say that certain things, how can California pick and choose what can be open and churches can't, it's not on that item, and yet, they're, as long as they're following their COVID-19 guidances as far as 6 feet and masks and all of that, why can't they open and have church in their homes? And the justices were saying, Justice Roberts and Elena Kagan and Justice Breyer were saying that they seem to suggest that that the government has the authority and the power to shut down everything or what they want to shut down when they choose, when they feel like it.
And is this still a state? How come California was singled out? Like, Minnesota's pretty strict on the churches still. And was it a pastor that initiated this petition to the courts?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I think it's pretty ridiculous myself. And now in Minnesota, some churches are opening and some are not, but Wisconsin never had. They've been open since before Christmas. So, go ahead. I was just trying to point out around the other parts of the country that it's kind of hit and miss.
Right,
like some places
are
choosing to and some aren't.
Mm-hmm. And there have been other court cases that were settled within the state where the churches had, taken the state to court. It says the court's decision made the following clear, that the majority of justices wrote, I can't even read my writing. I'm just jotting down notes. Hang on here 1 second.
It's all right.
The majority of justices seemed perturbed that they needed to once again lay out their logic. In some, they seem to suggest that the government's job during a pandemic is to shut everything down, if it so choose, but to keep hands off constitutionality protected religious activities. In the court's decision, the majority of justices wrote while laying out series of points of interpretation. Quote, first, government regulations are not neutral and generally applicable, and therefore trigger strict scrutiny under the Free Exercise Clause whenever they treat any comparable secular activity more favorably than religious exercise. And that what followed after that were 3 additional interpretive points that suggested, in simple terms, that the government cannot shut down religious gatherings while allowing similar secular gatherings to take place. And so the majority won, or, had basically overruled the other judges, and they were entitled to relief. And the majority explained again, repeating its opinions in previous cases. It's called the California Blueprint System, and it contains a myriad of exceptions and accommodations for comparable activities, thus requiring the application of scrutiny.
I have a question. Let's say the congregation has 300 members. Couldn't they let 50 come 1 week, 50 come the next week, and 50 the third week?
Well, they could, yes, but historically, strict scrutiny requires the state to further interests of the highest order by means narrowly tailored in pursuant of those interests, meaning that you can't really water it down, and that would be watering it down by putting restrictions on the amount of people or where or how, and it's a shall not infringe upon any, your religious activities. And so the majority, I guess, conservatives were saying shall not means what it means, shall not, versus the other judges on the left saying, well, we think it does mean that the government can shut down in case of a pandemic type situation to avoid any type of chaos and spread of the virus. And they had expressed their dissenting opinions, but it didn't matter because the court ruled in favor of the churches to resume their religious activities in the state of California.
So John, why don't I see I let Don in without even realizing it. Are you there, Don?
Yes,
that's weird. I didn't even push the in button, and you're in. So I guess you have super Christian powers. We're talking about the church.
Oh, no. I have super Christian powers.
You have telepathic powers because I never pushed on. So let me get John's feedback first because he's already been on the air and hasn't talked that much, and then we'll let you talk. So, John, what do you think about what Suzette said?
I think that you're going to see a lot of these things happen with the court of law. Probably the most significant thing that Donald Trump did is he appointed hundreds of judges, federal judges, and of course he appointed, I believe, 3 in the Supreme Court, I believe. So what Biden is doing, the puppet that he is, yesterday he proposed putting together a committee that will look at expanding the Supreme Court. And by that, I mean they might throw in an extra 10 Supreme Court people, make sure they lean left, and then you would have...
I just don't think... Do you think that's reasonable, that that's really going to happen? Because I don't think it's right.
Well, you remember, or if you do recall, before the election, he was grilled for weeks by the press. They're saying, hey, are you going to expand the Supreme Court or not? And he said, I'll let you know after the election. Which tells you, I mean, so he played the bluff that, oh, I probably won't do anything, because if he had said it before the election, people would say, oh, look what he's going to do. And this is the way the media protects him. 3 days ago, I was visiting where I stay at, and I have a neighbor, very left-leaning. He listens to CNN for hours with the volume up. You can hear it blaring. And
you've told me about him before. He's a Jewish guy too.
Jewish guy, and the last 2 or 3 times we've talked, he just kind of goes into the routine of, well, John, you're so far down the conspiracy rabbit hole, no one can even reach you. And when that happens with anyone, like if I have 2 conversations in a row with someone and they just kind of turn off the whole thing, the next time I see him, I'm just going to talk about sports or music or just something else, because there's no point in trying to communicate, and it only sets you up as being the conspiracy guy. So I don't even bring up stuff with him because I know where he stands. Well, he kind of opened the door about politics because he likes to talk it, and I told him, you believe everything you see on the media. And he said, you're just so down the rabbit hole. I said, really? I said, you know, and every time we start to talk about this stuff, he will say, oh, just give me the information on a link and I'll look it up later. And I do, but the problem is he never looks it up or we never talk about it. So on the spot, I said, you know what? Right now, let's do it. And I got my phone and out Googled. I said, Hunter Biden. I said, do you know he has an illegitimate daughter? And Joe Biden doesn't even admit it, and he's never paid a cent. And they covered it up before the election because they didn't want the public to know about his dirty deeds. He said, oh, you're conspiracies again. I said, look it up right here. Look at the source, and ABC News and New York Times.
More people have been covering that story.
Oh, yeah. Now the point is after the election, like it helps to know this stuff before. And he was like, I can't believe it. I said, yeah, he lost the paternity suit. It's very. I said, that's just lightweight stuff. Let's go to the real deal. He always throws the common. It's like all the media talks the same way. Donald Trump is a grifter for decades, and Ivanka and Donald Jr., they're the most corrupt people on the planet. They use government for money. I said, oh, really? I said, they were doing business well before the White House. I said, for 4 years they've been in the White House. For 40 years, the Biden family's been running money like it's a candy store. He said, I don't understand what you're talking about. I understand he studies politics hours a day.
In the big picture meaning, I understand your confrontation with your neighbor, but are you trying to say in lieu of Suzette's topic that Joe Biden's going to alter the framework and structure of the Supreme Court and other things?
His goal is to totally set up the political machine so there'll never be another Republican win an election. He's making sure that the border, that the people can vote by mail, that they can change the laws by regarding the voting standards. Anyone can vote. Felon.
Well, one thing we should all talk about is because of the Georgia legislator fighting back that way and changing the voting rules, they lost the Major League Baseball All-Star game, and the other state had to scramble and create accommodations. Did it get moved to Texas?
And have you ever heard of that? A president like not liking the way things go?
All I'm saying is that Major League Baseball, they step in because they don't like what the state has to do with their voting laws. I thought that was pretty radical.
Colorado. They moved him to Colorado, and actually the owner of the baseball league, didn't he come? Oh no, that was Coca-Cola that had come out and was glad for the Georgia laws, saying that was good. It will create fair elections, and then turned around a few days later and denounced them, the new voting laws.
You mean like
funny?
the Major League Baseball commissioner said that?
Yes.
And I've never heard.
Well, what I'm saying is, okay, they shouldn't punish the whole state of Georgia by moving the game just because what those legislators did, because the current that's running through Georgia, like the conservative bent, it's been in there for 100 years. Like even the Dixiecrats, the Democrats from like the 1940s to the 60s were conservatives in Democratic clothing. So they're not going to change the fabric of, I'll just say the crackers or the rednecks. They're not going to change that fabric by moving a baseball game.
I agree with you.
I don't. They are going to change the fabric of minority businesses, so it's going to hurt Atlanta in adverse ways other than the obvious that everybody's probably referring to. What it is that 40% of all businesses that are planned to be affected that will lose money on the loss of the also
Of the game, right, with the hotel tourism, all that, the food, the souvenirs, the whole marketing thing. But here's the thing, though. Why is sports or anything being used as a political weapon? Or in other words,
because it's where black people show that they are bigger, faster, smarter, and stronger. And that is
okay. Well, one thing I want to say though, because
that's what the problem with Trump is. You're talking about Trump, and
it's not that. I'm glad the commissioner recognized the protection of people who wanted to vote Democrat or whatever. But the fact of the matter is it wasn't. Wait a minute. It wasn't 5 months from now. Like it wasn't the game like less than a month in the making. Like I just think, okay, you guys can talk. Go ahead, but I think it was too drastic.
Major League Baseball All-Star game is in the end of July.
Okay, so it's not that close in advance. It's a ways away.
It's just started, but here's the point is that they shouldn't use sports or anything to determine politics. It's like, oh, we didn't like the way you voted, so therefore we're going to take away your business. We're going to take away your company. We're going to take away your livelihood.
They should give blacks reparations because we built the United States of America.
Okay, Don, don't talk in generalities tonight. Be more specific.
I'm not talking about this. It's the same concept. We're talking about the loss of business for one place and the gain of business for another.
But they didn't. I don't think they thought that went out. I think they thought they were punishing the state legislature for voting the way they did. So they're like, fine, we're going to punish you by moving. And then afterwards, it's like, oh, they're hurting the people.
The white commissioners moved it. You asked them.
Well, I guess they felt like the Georgia legislature was petty by making all those voting laws.
It's not about that. It's about making elections fit a Democratic Party. Anything that favors that and anything that's against that gets destroyed and decimated or has the media, again, levels on. I told my friend, do you understand the Biden family for 4 decades has been just running wild? And he's like, what are you talking about? I said, Frank Biden, James Biden, Natalie Biden, Hunter, But did you understand that he's a conspiracy rabbit hole? I said, let's look it up right now. I said, Frank Biden, Iraq, it's a $100,000 home contract. Think about it, 100,000 homes. So if it was even $1, that's 100,000. If they sold the houses for $10, that's $1 million. If they sold for I went down the line, basically billions of dollars of home contracts.
Okay, I have a question for you, John.
He's never heard of it.
You're very okay. Listen, Bill Clinton and Jimmy Carter and Barack Obama, they were the only three presidents in the last 50 years that came from nothing. Now, then we have the dynasty of the Bushes and the wealthy Kennedys who made all their money during the bootleg, when alcohol was banned. Who cares about all the rich assholes? Like, is that the game changer in this country?
Yes.
Like, Joe Biden wasn't even on the radar until he got to be vice president.
But the rich game is different than the poor game, and that's what John and all these other folks who think that they are being fooled is that's what's blinding them. The rich are different. They don't look at rich or poor. They look
I really don't see Joe Biden as one of these rich assholes that are just trying to take advantage of everybody.
He's a senator for 46 years. My name is 47 years. My God, he's been getting kickbacks, chaos, and everything else for decades.
Mm-hmm. But the real question is there's someone behind the strings of Joe Biden, because Joe Biden wasn't even an effective presidential candidate. He was losing his ass off before the Super Tuesday coup. And Pete Buttigieg and a few other those people had way more potential than Biden. It was someone behind the strings that was pulling the puppeteering.
Nobody gay is going to be president for the next 15, 20 years.
I mean, the first run for president, he had to drop out because he plagiarized the speech. And then when Senate ran, plagiarized another one. But getting back to the baseball thing, I think that, so let's just say for hypothetical reasons that the state legislature of Georgia decided to revoke or rescind their law that they passed and that they reversed it. What would that mean? Would that mean that the baseball team would come back or not for the game? Because they're only leaving, I guess, for the game. And if so,
thanks for clarifying our issues. Is that I think what would happen is I'm going to have John and Don go, but I'm just going to say that I don't think they would take that kind of move, because I live right next door to Wisconsin, and there's a Democratic governor and a Republican legislature, and they would never be so obliging to change a law that they put in there, whether it was popular or not.
Right. But I'm saying, is the Colorado, or is the team moving to Colorado in hopes of reversing that decision? And if it were reversed, would they come back? And if so, wouldn't that be extortion?
Ask your white commissioners about that.
And then
that's a very good point. And
besides the Major League Baseball All-Star game, who really gives a crap? I used to be a jock, and
money.
Jane,
money.
No, what I'm saying is the All-Star game, it's never really been a big thing in baseball or football. Has it?
Quiet, Jane. Please keep quiet, Jane.
Don, quit being an ass. Like, who cares about the All-Star game? It's just a fun little thing they do at the end of the year.
It's not the end of the year, it's the middle of the year. Plus, the All-Star game it has also not only the game, but because the game determines who is the home team in the World Series. But the other thing is that the American League or the National League. The other thing, though, is that it is also accompanied by the home run derby, some other charity events. It's a huge event. It's sold out.
Well, John, you're the baseball expert. What do you think about the gravity of the All-Star game?
The gravity is huge. huge.
All the money in sports entertainment. You look at sports entertainment, you look at music entertainment. It's become political now, and so you're using this to leverage to punish. And so in the future, if you're thinking of voting a certain way or favoring a certain policy that's political, you better go with what the Democrat Party is throwing down, or otherwise you're going to get rammed.
This Georgia law was a Republican machination. This Georgia law was a Republican machination. It was their need to cut down voting days and make sure that they have ID.
And why, John, why did they? Because they changed the constitution of the state weeks before the election. It was all about changing it to write-in voting, to voting after 8 p.m., to not supervise or look up information, to let the rules. In other words, they're supposed to be monitoring at the day of the election, and they move people 50 feet back.
Right, but that did not read. Some of those things were not part of the law. This law. Those are things that just happen, and they can give Georgia. They can give Georgia, and they can give. They can give Georgia.
There.
They can give Georgia, and they.
Go ahead.
I'm just saying they can give Georgia and Wisconsin. They can give Georgia.
Yeah,
and
everyone give each other a fair shake to talk.
I got 2 more words to say. They can give Georgia and Pennsylvania to Trump. Biden would still win. Go.
There's also the China factor that the baseball commissioner had met with Chinese leaders or something like that a week before their announcement that they were moving to Colorado for the game. So I wonder if that has anything to do with anything.
There were 6 swing states. 6 swing states to change the Constitution before the election, within the weeks before. You don't do that in a major election. You don't change everything to write-in voting.
You do it.
Well, we were in a pandemic.
You do exactly. You do it when you're under particular circumstances. Some of these laws that were changed, and we're trying right now in the legislature because I'm a citizen lobbyist, and one of our major things, we've got a couple of laws, BDRs that are coming out, bill draft requests for the election to have permanent voting, mail-in voting. So these laws are only temporary.
You mean the fake pandemic? Do you know that there's as many people died from cigarette smoke as COVID? 500,000 people. And yet, that smoking's not a pandemic. They didn't cancel voting because people smoke.
Smoking is a lifetime thing. The pandemic was a virus, and it'll be here for a long time. It's a virus. I mean, hell, just admit that. I don't give a shit what else.
Yeah, where did it come from, Don?
Where it came from, or what doctors actually put it in their vial and it dropped, or whatever. Bottom line is
Wuhan.
It's Wuhan. And it was transferred at the Wuhan Games that year in September, and they brought it to America, and this has been in America since October. From China.
So who makes the money on the medicines, on the masks, on the test kits? And who did it get out of office? Donald Trump. COVID wiped out the whole agenda of his employment.
Donald Trump wiped out the agenda. All he had to do for reasonable Republicans to change their vote, to keep their vote, all he had to do was acknowledge that the bug existed, the Kung Fu flu existed. That's all he had to do. And he refused until freaking fucking August to admit that
what are you talking about?
Pandemic. He
closed travel in January. What are you talking about? He was the only one who died.
No, he didn't.
Said, come visit our city. don't. And he said,
did an
what did
undog
Joe
thing up with the vaccine. But
Joe
he was
Biden
stupid.
said that Donald Trump was xenophobic for
He didn't
closing
even-
the borders and travel.
Trump didn't even acknowledge the doggone thing, virus, after he got it. He didn't even acknowledge it then.
Well,
So you're out of line.
He shut down
Out of line,
travel.
Don.
He restricted travel, and they said from Europe.
He restricts
from
travel
China?
because he's weak. He's weak as hell.
He's-
If you do not believe something is going on, and you go ahead and shut down the country, that's weak and stupid. That's taking other people's advice and making it your own, which is not the way a leader is supposed to lead. So he didn't have to fucking shut down the country. Churches didn't have to shut down. Nobody had to shut down. Nobody. But they decided he's weak.
Joe
He's
Biden
weak.
still hasn't shut down, and so does all the
He's
government.
weak
Right?
too. Oh my God.
That's what Newsom.
He's weak too. Joe Biden's not thinking it by himself. He's not saying those words because he knows what he's saying.
Who
Right
brought
now,
back
he's a
football?
threat.
Who
Ronald
said
Reagan.
we should?
He's a puppet.
Who
right
said
now.
we should
And
play
the
football?
him works.
Who said we should start playing football and got the games back? Remember they shut down all the college football games? And Trump said, hey, we should be playing football. And remember the football teams, the Heisman Trophy guy said, I want to play
God,
ball.
you people are so stupid. Okay, what happened is that money. What we went through it earlier. Sports is one of the biggest money makers there is. Period.
I have to change the title. Can you guys let Suzette talk too?
Go ahead, Suzette.
Well, if we're talking about the pandemic, you make me laugh.
I just don't get it. Why, John? You think that like the whole only a small percentage of the even if there was voter fraud, it was only a small percentage, and they changed a lot of the voting in mail stuff because of the pandemic. It was. I don't consider it like some kind of hyped up conspiracy.
All right,
But go ahead.
Get the Republicans, please, get the Republicans, Georgia and Philadelphia, please. I'm begging the Electoral College and all those white men.
We've already
get
lived. I
Georgia.
lived through election 2000 when there was only 538 votes, and Gore only asked for 4 counties to be counted. The Democrats have paid the price. Trust me, we've paid the price.
Suzette, is it true that in Pennsylvania and Michigan that there were more votes than voters? And how can that? Oh, in Georgia, how can that frickin'? Do you understand that? If you have 200,000 more votes,
please
you
give
think,
them Philadelphia.
Because God's on the Democratic side, and all the angels came down from heaven and voted.
God loves abortion. God loves abortion. God loves vaccines, and loves putting a microchip on your forehead so you can worship your beast and worship Satan with all these other people like God.
And the government. The government is an institution. It doesn't determine anyone's salvation. Nobody I know worships the government. The only person I ever worshipped was John F. Kennedy. And Ted Kennedy before he knocked that lady in the water.
Now, the states change their laws if they want to, their election laws, but it has to be done through their state legislature. And in many cases, the state legislature was not even consulted and definitely did not pass through them. It was somebody else that just signed something and said, okay, we're doing this. And so that's what is improper about it. But they're not saying, and I don't think John is saying that the states can't change their voting rules or laws or how the process works. It's a matter of who has the authority to pass.
Can't John just say, I don't agree? John, can't you just say, I don't agree with the write-in ballots? You don't have to say that the whole system's rigged. Then you just sound like one of those whiny people in Portland who are protesting.
The whole system is
John is right. John is right. The whole system is rigged. What don't you people understand?
Well, then you guys You guys were possessed by Albert in the last 2 weeks.
What is that?
Do you know that ABC News yesterday?
Because Albert believes that the whole system is rigged, and he won't work for $12 an hour because he's getting ripped off. So he'd rather not work at all and collect food stamps to his mother. So go back. You guys all go live in Mexico and push a cart around and sell burritos if the whole system's rigged.
Millions of people do it. Millions of people do it. They're living off of welfare, food stamps.
Well, I make $63,000 a year working 3 jobs, and I got everything I want, including 10 pairs of designer shoes.
And plus, working your butt off until you get sick.
ABC News.
Tonight I feel sick as a dog, to tell you the truth, and I don't want to go to FedEx.
Well, ABC News 2 days ago released a report in China. They are reprogramming Christians. They're putting them in prison. They lock them in rooms for 10 months. No ventilation, no lighting. They get slapped, insulted, intimidated until they sign a release saying, I renounce my faith. This is China. This is what's coming to America.
Well, they're crazy because we're just mortals, and you can't control people's thoughts. Like, China has nothing to gain by trying to treat people like shit. They have nothing to gain.
They're gaining the whole world. What are you talking about? They shut down an election. They're taking over government. They just did the deal with Iran. They're going to run their tech and their infrastructure. They're running that whole roadway for all across Europe and Asia, so everyone will deal with them. They're financing these companies. They're bankrolling them in exchange for whatever the resources are, whether it's oil in Iran or whether it's goods and products in like Hong Kong and other countries. And they're just taking the world slowly, piece by piece, and people like our crew here just thinks, oh, this is a conspiracy thing. Wake up. Please, look at the name on the box, made in China.
I can guarantee you 5 years from now, China's not coming to Duluth. It's too cold up here. I'll still be able to worship in 2 churches like I am, and I'll either be richer, older, or dead.
Well, why don't you say you support Donald Trump and put that on Facebook and watch what happens.
My son has learned how to throw 2 live hand grenades and operate a M4 machine gun. So I worry more about his life than mine.
You can't even meet in church in public. What are you talking about? You have to put your mask on.
Wisconsin's been open since before Christmas, and Minnesota has 50% of their churches are open now. That's what I'm talking. Like Suzette said, it's all very uneven.
Until the variant comes, and it'll be the next wave, and the next wave. This will never stop. You're going to have your
Well,
vaccine.
people like me who have 2 layers around their belly, nothing's going to kill me.
You try flying to Europe. You're going to need your vaccine. You're going to need your Moderna.
I already have the card. I'm one of those hybrid Americans. I got the first shot, but I won't get the second. So now they're not going to know what to do with me.
Well, you guys know what's going on in Canada, right? If you fly to Canada right now, and when you step off that plane, it doesn't matter if you've already been checked out as far as you show no fever or anything, or you've been vaccinated, or you've shown proof that you had the coronavirus and recovered, any of that. You're automatically taken to a quarantine hotel, and they charge you to stay there. So you're going to be there, what they say, 2 weeks?
3 days.
3 days, and for a total of $2,000. So it's going to cost you $2,000 to land in
Well, who
Canada.
can afford that?
No, and they don't bring you as far as food goes, the people that are staying there are complaining because they have their vaccination record showing that they were vaccinated, but they didn't care. And the fact that as far as food goes, when it gets dropped off type thing. What was the other complaint? Well, yeah, they can't leave because they're quarantined. But yeah, and the hotel.
So let's say 100 people fly in from another country to Canada. What percentage of people do they quarantine?
All of them. They have
All of
hotels.
them? So every
have-
person who flies into Canada is going to be stuck in a hotel.
Yes, they have. What do you call it? Commandeered a certain amount of hotels for the people to stay for 3 days, and you have no choice. And it was like,
That's
what?
very terrible.
And meanwhile, if you sneak into the United States to the border, you get to stay 50 people or kids in a room, head to toe, 6 inches apart. You don't have to worry about the 6 feet. You don't have to worry about the mask. And then they'll let you into the country. And then you can get your free stimulus money. You can get your free medicine, your free education, your free housing. Oh, by the way, in Santa Monica, they just changed the zoning. So that way they're going to bring in more free government housing for poor people, to bring them into rich areas, to make it slum town. And I talked to someone today. You gotta love this one. Oh, this is classic. He was living, now I feel sorry for him because he's living in his car, but guess what he's doing now? Through government program, he's staying at the Marriott. And they pay the bill. Oh, wait a second, I pay the bill. Except I really didn't even agree to it. But yeah, they pick a whole group of people. They go, oh, you get to stay at the Hyatt, and you can't use the pool and some of the amenities. But you've got your cable. You got the same hotel that the Joneses are staying at, paying their couple $100 a night, and it's on the government tab. Isn't that just so freaking beautiful? Wow! Welcome to America. COVID. Of course, there's no.
You guys, I have to rewrite the show, so you three are in charge for about 8 minutes. Be nice to each other.
Oh, there's another one too. I'll give you some more. There's a program you can sign up for. They'll give you $20,000 forgivable loan. It basically means you never pay it back. And again, this is free money. We're just because we got lots of free money because no one can work, and it just comes out of nowhere. And but I'm the conspiracy guy. You're saying?
For refugee status people. Mm-hmm. So all the people that are coming here claiming asylum, if they change their status to refugee, then they get that money. Plus, they get a place to live, all their expenses paid. This is on the page, the government website showing as far as the refugee program that we have. So they get a place to live, all their expenses paid, daycare. They'll find you a job, and once a year later, when they're getting ready to cut you off of the program, you can extend your program for another year if you like. Get that loan that you're talking about. Actually, it's not even a loan. It's the money they just hand it over to you. It states on there clearly it's not to be paid back, and they use it to buy a car, a home, start a business, whatever they want. And I was just like, what? Oh my God.
Okay.
Doesn't that sound great, Don? Does that sound so illogical, so cool? But we're getting back at the white man, right? That's the whole thing.
It's not
the white people.
No, but the white man, see, that's what you don't understand, John. The white man did this shit himself. He's the one who made the laws in the Constitution that they didn't really mean. They were not meant for black people, slaves, because they were 3/5 of a person. And the other thing is that the people that they put into all these policies, all these monuments, all these structures are built by white people, and they still complain. So that means that something is wrong. They can't admit it. They can't admit it. It's like AA. If you're an alcoholic, the first thing you have to do is admit you're an alcoholic. If these white men admit that the structure that they put together is imperfect or needs a lot of restructuring or whatever, if they're going to say that, then that means that it was something wrong. It's a failure. They should be happy to bring everybody together and let everybody work together to push America forward instead of pushing us back. What's happening is that the people on the left like destruction. The people on the right love destruction because that gives them job security, and they are able to continue work while saying, "Oh, the right is wrong," or "Oh, the left is wrong," or whatever the case may be. This is job security. That's all it is, and all of this crap that's going on is just meant to be diversions. It's a really simple concept that keeps people blind.
Well, here's the question then. So what plantation did you come from, and when's the last time you picked cotton or anything in a field in your life?
I don't know.
Tell me how many years did you work in the field as a slave?
No, but it'd be not. I don't know.
So you never worked as a slave?
I was a golf caddy. We didn't make hardly any money. I was making like $1.20.
You were forced to work that tip.
Huh?
You were forced against your will. They picked you up, they handcuffed you, and they whipped you if you didn't do it. So you've never been a slave.
But
how about your parents? Were your parents on a plantation?
John, all I know is that I'm walking around this motherfucker without my real name. My real name is not the name that I got on my freaking driver's license. My real name is not the real name that's in my birth certificate. That hurts.
You
I
can
have no
legally
choice
change your name to whatever you want. What's your name?
Little dick white man name. That's not fair.
Okay. So what name did you want to be called?
I don't have a clue because I don't know what my real last name is. And I'm pissed. And millions of other black people are pissed. And that's what is going to be one of the big sticking points when it comes down to reparations and other things, civil liberties that we're going to be talking about in the near future.
Well, your parents named you. A white man didn't name you. Your parents named you. They can name you anything you want. You can change. You want to be Quebec Pay? You want to be Toby? Tell me what name you want. Just go to stop booking. Go down to the record place or whatever. Slick did it. He was Thomas Ray Day. He changed his name to Thomas Slick. Actually, I'm sorry. He was born McDonald. But when he looked at the birth certificate, his mother hid it from him because she fucked another guy instead of his dad, and they told him all his life he was McDonald. And yet he was 6'5", and his brothers were like under 6 feet. He looked different. He acted different. He wanted the original birth certificate, and she went and produced it. She said, "Oh, it's in the garage somewhere. I can't find it." So finally, his wife at the time, who worked in medical as a nurse, he said, "Just go and get the record yourself." And when he found it, he found out his name wasn't Thomas McDonald. It was Thomas Ray Day, and that the father was John Ray Day in Oklahoma. And so he confronted with his birth certificate. In fact, he called them and they said, "Oh, Mr. Day, we're sorry. We've been trying to modify your, request for you. Your mother's been working on it, and we apologize for the delay." "Oh, really?" So he got a copy of it on his birthday. He talked to his mom. He said, "Hey, how's the search for my birth certificate going?" He said, "Oh, I'm still looking for it." And he took her to the bathroom and he said, "Is there something you need to tell me?" "Don't know." And then he showed her the birth certificate, and she said, "Oh, I was just mad at your father at the time, but you've always been a McDonald." The point is, later on that year, he changed his name to Thomas Slick Day. He's no longer McDonald. He won't refer to it. So you pick the name you want, Don, or whatever your name is. And
I have 3 certificates with different names.
Stop begging for money like a panhandler. That's such a woman, not a woman, that's such a homeless thing. That's such a victim thing. Call yourself whatever you want. Be a man. Like, I'm Don, whatever you want to be. Just be a man. It's your life.
We got another article here about the Fairplex. Hang on just a second.
How y'all doing? I'm Robert. Suzette is okay. I just want to let you guys know here in our county fairgrounds are opening up for 2,500 young people from the border. And the facility here is not a detention facility. It's actually will provide educational, mental health, and legal services for these young lads between the ages of 12 to 17 years old.
Is this Suzette's husband?
Yes, it is. How you doing, Jan?
Hi, what's your first name?
My name is Robert.
Hi, Robert.
Hello.
So, is your topic, are you condoning what they're doing for these young men?
Oh, hell no.
Okay.
No.
Go ahead and keep talking. I wanted to say hi.
Well, no, I'm glad. I'm say hello back to you. It's just I read about this today, and 2,500 young people, and it's going to be it's not going to be a detention center like they're saying. It's going to be open air where they can play basketball, soccer, have fun. But they're going to get schooling, mental health. They're going to get health care and legal services to make sure that that they can represent their parents in court to find out that sent them here, and then have them testify against their own parents to send them to jail.
Really?
Yeah.
Were you able to vote? Were you able to vote for this, or was this done regardless of your consent?
No, the Biden administration had opened this up. It was nice of him. It says the Biden administration has opened up a series of sites to house the migrant children until they are reunited with their family or sponsors. So he's doing this all across the United States. He's going to have these little facilities for them. So what he's hoping to bring him in is bring the parents here to America and then convict them and then send them to jail.
Well, that seems kind of dumb. I have a question. Now, this sounds kind of off the wall, but I have two questions for you. What if I wanted to become a foster parent of one of these kids? Would I get like $1,200 a month from the government to house them?
You should, if you want to. Yeah, you get something for them. I mean, really, you shouldn't want that if you're going to adopt the kids.
Well, it's just because I have the empty nest syndrome, and I was thinking about it because my son just joined the Army. But I also felt sorry that those boys primarily had to walk 1,000 miles from Central America to go into a strange country with no guarantees. Like, what if they got bit by a snake in Central Mexico on their way up here? Like, all I'm saying is that I don't want a bunch. I'm as John probably knows and a few others, I am definitely for border restrictions, because there was one time in the 80s where 2,000 Mexicans were crossing the California border alone a day. So we can't afford it, is my philosophy. But on the other hand, if these kids are coming here by themselves, we can't afford to bring their parents here just to convict them. Just like let them be farmed out and adopted by somebody else, because let's just drop the legal ball. Like, the parents made that choice.
It will never stop because the coyotes are making big bank on it. They're making $14 million a day. They're making $400,000. The coyotes, the people who bring the people who bring them in. These are professional human traffickers. These are people from Guatemala, Honduras, Central America, wherever, or Mexico. The cartels. These are gang people who say, "Hey, I can get you into America. Give me $4,000. Give me $2,000. Give me $10,000." And people are like,
"Well, some of them are just poor kids that their parents had no life for them, and they had their children." If it was a rich-run operation, they'd drive them straight up to the border. These kids are walking with the clothes on their back.
Well, here's the deal.
Did you see where they threw those two kids over the wall? They pretty much said, "Okay, our job's done."
Okay, I have a question for Suzette's husband. Do you think that there's some kind of dark force behind this, or are these just scraggly kids walking country to country to get where they're supposed to be, like the Syrians.
No, they're just coming. They're just in a group of people that are bringing them. They're trucking them here, and then the coyote takes them and he gets them over across. Then another coyote picks them up and puts them in housing. Puts them in takes.
But isn't it just for the advantage of these Central American kids to get here? Like, how can somebody benefit from this? Because if somebody has that money south of the border, why don't they use that money to help their own people?
Well, it's like drug dealers.
Exactly. Right there.
Yeah, but why can't people help these countries reestablish themselves? Why does it have to? Why does America have to fix everything?
The Catholic
Because
Church wants
there are new slaves. Hispanics are the most recent slaves, and now the Asians and Indians are the new slaves. But the Hispanics are our slaves. They're working at $8 an hour if they're lucky.
And they're not going to tell you.
They're sitting. And the cartels own their city. The cartels run most of Mexico and Honduras, Nicaragua. The cartels own Central America a lot. And so what the cartels are doing is killing all the boys and making sure the ladies follow orders. And if the boys, if they want to stay alive, they got to run. So that's what this is all about. That's what their survival mode is all about. But this is about, again, money. Big money.
It's a $5 billion a year business, 14 mil a day, over 400 million per month.
But on the other hand, they're going to have to do something with these kids if they've crossed the border. They can't just leave them hanging.
They're going to grow. They're going to grow into American adults. They're going to grow into Mexican American adults. That's
a drug dealer doesn't say he dies as long as they get their money. The $5 billion business.
But the drug dealer, John, the drug dealer is fucking employed by somebody. The drug dealer is employed by somebody, John. That's a white man who needs these services so that he can make his margin.
Who are the white people in Mexico, Don? You're so full of it.
They're the ones who run some of these corporations.
Human trafficking comes from Mexico.
It's Al Pacino dressed up as Bruno Mars.
It doesn't come from white males. It comes from these other countries that are not white. You have to get the racism out of your head. You're so caught up in your hate for white people. You live the white person's life. And you're so jealous. I don't know why, because you love the white lifestyle.
Those are some of the biggest corporations down there. They got some of the biggest corporations down in Mexico. They're owned by white people. The stockholders, stakeholders are all white. Come on, John.
Coca-Cola tried to run a business in Mexico. The cartels ran them out. The cartels run Mexico, not white corporate America.
That's what I just... Why those women people get killed?
Who are in the cartels? It's Hispanic, it's Mexican, gangbangers, MS-13. It's not what. You just go look at the cartels. You think there's a bunch of white people show up? The Mormons moved down there, right?
Yeah.
Well, family, they're down there. They're white people. And what do they run into? Mexicans, gangs.
Right.
They don't run into white people.
Yes, they do.
My
They have the white people that are still the Nazi terrorists that are running. They've got those all the way from Brazil, all the way through South America.
Show me the white people, Rick. Go ahead. I say, is he talking about Argentina?
I'm talking about the whole motherfucker. I'm talking about South America is overrun by Austrians and
Cuba.
And
the Jews.
Cuba has some, but basically they're Brazil, Austria.
Now, Jen, you're talking about just dropping kids off. There's an interview with a 10-year-old little boy asking a border patroller what should he do because his group left him hanging. all the people that he had followed all the way up here, they left him with all his luggage. And he didn't know what to do, so he was crying to this. It was pretty sad because he was crying to his, what do you want to call, Border Patrol person, and asking what should he do because he doesn't know what he's going to do now. And he's 10 years old.
It's terrible.
Yeah,
That's
tough.
just-
That's just bullshit.
And the Aryan Nation and the
it's his own people.
Exactly.
the
They-
Exploiting
Proud
Mexicans.
Boys, they're all laughing and figuring out
it's-
how to
it's-
shoot them. They want to shoot him in the
it's-
leg. They want to shoot him in the heart. They want to shoot him in the leg. They want to shoot him in the
Yeah.
mouth. They're just laughing. The Aryan
That's
Nation, the Proud Boys,
crazy.
those up there assholes, they were all laughing.
Just go. Show me the video. Show us the link. Show us the white man leading the white man coyotes. It's not. It's Hondurans. It's Central Americans. It's people with darker skin leading. This is black.
I'm saying you're
black
short-sighted.
in Africa.
Saying
It
you're
wasn't
short-sighted.
white
Because
people.
the coyotes are only the middleman, John. You've got to have a client. And the client is Coca-Cola. They tried. GM's there.
Apple.
Caterpillar's there. All,
Apple.
Everyone is there.
Everyone.
They're trying.
China isn't white. It's yellow.
This one might
Everyone.
be allowed to come over.
Saudi
And-
Arabia, the sheiks, all those princes, they're not white. They're Middle Eastern. They're tan skin. It's a whole team of all colors of privilege exploiting their brothers and their sisters. And
And
until
they-
we
and
get
they
that
all-
right,
and they all-
you'll never ever deal with it. You're always separate and divide by colors. That's what you do.
But they
You
all
all separate
they
it.
all
You're
suck
guys.
child.
If this is
They
racist at all,
all suck dicks.
this one
They
kid,
suck dicks. They suck
this one
dicks.
kid's able to get across, and the Border
They
Patrol
suck
person
dick.
asked him if he
They
could
suck
put in a sentence
dick.
using the colors pink, green, and yellow in a sentence. So the kid looks at him and goes, well, when the phone rings, I pick it up and I say yellow. And they let him through. You think that's racist?
It wasn't in my day, but now it is. You have a whole bunch of liberals banging garbage cans in front of your door, and they be plastic garbage cans because they don't make metal anymore. So the bottom line is that this is all the white man's game, and people like John are just so short-sighted that they freaking don't see the whole board. You're only looking at half of the board. The whole board is that Coca-Cola and Caterpillar and GM and everybody else is kissing Rothschild and the Carnegies and the Chase Mellons and
Well, you gotta understand that the boat is docked. You can step off the ship anytime and take the chains off your necks. I mean, you don't have to keep them on anymore.
most of that.
You
That's what
you gotta get the boat.
The Biden regime is doing that. He's opening the border, saying, "Chains are off, come on in." And
Man,
and
Barack Obama. Yeah, those are very, very white people. Yeah, I see, and with who else? The whole team.
they are little dick white people. Yeah.
Obama.
They are
Oh,
little
she's
dick
so
white
white. Michelle. And
Come on, Bible. Obama was half white. You don't understand that.
Yeah.
You're
Oh,
half
no,
white.
I
Hey, the Irish
You don't
were considered
understand
white
that.
until 1871,
you're
right?
mixed. We're all mixed. We're all mixed with different stuff. That's the thing.
Uh-huh.
It's
Yeah.
it's sin, not the
And-
skin.
And the more, and the longer you've been in America, the more mixed you are. So that means that the black race has been here second. I mean, in discovering America, of course, we don't even know that the indigenous Indians were here, and we don't know.
So therefore, we all, the black people are exploiting each other, right? We all came from black people. So we're all
But because
exploited
we're
by
learning
the
from you. We're learning from white people. We learn that that's how they do things. Black people don't give a shit about anything but sex, drugs, and rock and roll. We want to party, have a good time, and make babies. That's all we want to do. We don't want to partake in trying to make laws and tell people what to the men do, as the women fucking do, Big Black says all day long. Go for one to nothing. That's all we want to do. We don't want to go out here and fucking try to change people's mind and promote propaganda that takes too much time from partying and fucking. That's not what we black people want to do. We don't give a shit about what white man says. That's why we wear our pants up. That's why we got no fun. That's why we got dressed up.
You don't care about party. You care about taking money from white
We
people.
don't care. We don't give a shit about money. We want money so we can fuck bitches. You know,
all you care about is reparations. You're contradicting yourself.
So nobody cares about reparations. Oh, there are only a few people that care about reparations, John. You're getting it twisted. There are only a few people that care about reparations. We're fine with getting a couple
roll back
dollars.
the table. At the very beginning, we need our reparations. You say it every show. Every show. Because it's like a loop. It's a play.
I'm saying,
it's like a girl. I want your money. I want your
John. I know the cure to everything. I know the cure to everything. I know the cure to everything. And I'm saying that reparations would be a fair and equitable way for blacks to become more assimilated into white society. Because
why don't you just do it the plastic way? Just get a gun and go rob a bank like your brothers do, like your gangsters in the rap music. They talk about that.
We learned from John Dillinger and all those little dick white fellows that bank robbing is bad. So we have, we don't want to do bad. We just want to have sex, drugs, and rock and roll. So
and steal money from white people. You want to steal money from people that
you are the most. That is the most insane thing or thought that anybody has. Is that black people are stealing money from white people? That's funny as fuck. That is hilarious. If I wasn't so tired, I'd be laughing my ass off. Because
right. Well, that's what you want. That's what you want. You want a politician to make a law that will take money from me for something that someone 3 generations. I don't even know.
First of all, only one. We're only talking about. Oh, what is that? Shoes. Just 15% of the highest earners paying the bill. That's all we're looking at. We're not looking at you. You've got buckets. And everybody, a lot of other people have buckets too. But we're looking at paying tax increases, I believe, is highest 10 or 15% of America. So you wouldn't have to pay a dime. And stealing money,
we're already paying for
reparations.
For equal opportunity, for the free housing, for the scholarship programs. What are you talking about? For the national debt,
we don't mind collecting that because we stay out of your business. We let you white people continue to run, continue to pseudo lead because you're terrible leaders. You're weak people. You're freaking stupid, and propaganda makes everybody march in lockstep like cows.
Yeah. But it's so weak that you have to ask them for money. You have to beg like the guy in front of the 99-cent store with a little cup. Give me my reparations. I'm helpless. I can't get a job like in the 80s.
He's at work, Lou. He's at work. John, he's at work. He's at work. He's not stealing anything. He's at work.
Yeah, you're working for Joe Biden, right? And Kamala.
With a cup by the 99 store? I don't think so.
And you're working for Microsoft, right? You're their bitch.
Who? What? I don't understand what
you were working for Microsoft over the last year. You said I can't talk about it because I might lose my job. Bitch.
No, it wasn't Microsoft. It was a subsidiary of Microsoft. But yeah.
Well, I have a heartwarming story about a young black community leader who steps in to raise up strong boys in Georgia, and his name is King Randall. Has anybody heard of him?
No, but there's no such thing as stepping up for black children.
Yes, he actually is. He believes in do for self, and in January of 2019, he founded a group called the X for Boys, and his motto is "Let us make men." And his mission was to raise the minds of young boys to make them men. And so a lot of times these boys were put into like the foster system, didn't have anywhere to go. And so he would take them. He planned a field trip, and he did a flyer through his phone. And so he had the boys, and he learned for himself through his stepfathers, and also he taught himself through watching a lot of YouTube videos how to cut hair, paint, auto repair, and odd jobs. So him, his brother, and the boys, they raised enough money, and they bought a school in Georgia, and they bought a bus in Georgia. And they just recently had a meeting with the school board district, King Randall. He's 21 years old.
King Randall.
Yes.
That's impressive.
Yes, it is. So he took them to an African American museum, and they went to a civil rights museum so that they could learn about their heritage, but also learn to do for themselves.
They're going to be they're going to be the first ones lynched. I'm afraid for those boys.
Well, he has the support of the school district right now, so they're working together with the school district. And he says, I'm a Black American, and I don't hate... He says, I'm a Black American, and I don't hate President Trump. Call me whatever you want, but you shouldn't turn that hate into love for your own communities. President Trump isn't the reason our communities have gone down. Our lack of accountability is. King Randall.
Don believes in lynchings, which haven't happened for 40 or 50 years, over the black-on-black crime, which is thousands every year. That's
Actually,
real.
there have been some lynchings in recent years.
How many? Yeah, how many?
Not many, but they still exist.
Every weekend, there are people.
Lynchings are happening every day.
So go ahead. Name all the lynchings. Go ahead. In America, of black people by white people. Name them all. You got all these.
How can you name? That's like news.
Okay, you guys, I hate to tell you this, but with you and John and John's fringe politics, me and Suzette are making more sense than you guys.
No, I'm calling you out. You just said there's a bunch of lynchings.
I'm not saying you're doing it now, John. I'm just saying, Don, you have been generalizing the whole night. We know what your theme is, but you can't just generalize every topic away.
I'm not trying to generalize. I get a few percentages at the start. And the thing is that when you say that blacks are stealing, that is I can't even respond to that.
Who's saying blacks are stealing?
He wants reparations. That's money coming out of my pocket. I didn't have a slave. He's not a slave. So when you want money for something you didn't suffer and I haven't incurred upon you as a loss, that's stealing. If I take someone to court and go, oh, I need money from Jane, I need money from Don, and you go, what's the crime? Well, they took money from me. Well, what did I do? Slavery. I don't own slaves. Well, but slavery, were you a slave? No. I asked you to name the plantation you worked on or the day that you picked cotton or whatever, and you couldn't name it. I also asked you to name it.
I need reparations from Plenty of Fish
for
dating a Republican for 2 years who was emotionally abusive.
Oh, but here's the thing. I asked for specific facts, and you guys both had nothing. You had zero. And then you start talking lynchings, and I said, go ahead, name the lynchings. Tell me how many cases. And then I will show you how many people, black-on-black crime happens every day. And you have
we have had that circular discussion on our show, but I wanted to point out the school that Suzette was talking about, what nationality was the person who created the school?
Black. And he put on workshops for the boys.
Was he creating the school for only black kids?
He said that mostly because of the people in his community are black, but it's open to anyone.
Okay.
And it's free. It's like
it's kind of like what Oprah did in Africa. She built a school for African children. Mm-hmm. And they got to live there, like as kind of like a boarding school.
Yes, exactly. That's what it is. and he teaches them auto repair, household repair, cooking, and he graduated himself from culinary school, and he raises money through his church and through other donations so that he can take the kids.
So
on
it's
even
like
more
a
field trips.
functional, it's like a realistic job type of school, like things you can apply in the real world.
Yes, and during the boot camp that he has, they also learn their education, like reading comprehension and their math and those things too. But
is it for kids who are behind, or is it for any kid?
It's actually for any kid. And let's see, I'm trying to read here. Last summer, he put on a sort of boot camp on his own, in his own home, a house he owns on 4 acres, where he set up 3 bunk beds in his living room and had 6 boys stay with him. He said during the camp, he taught more skills, including planting their own food as well. Because he wants them to be able to survive, do for self, is also his motto. He told me that most of the boys are being raised by single moms. King said he thinks it's important that boys were exposed to his life with his wife and his son so they could see how men properly interact with women and children. For some of the boys,
is this guy a Christian?
Yes.
Yeah.
And for some boys, this is the only role model that they have. Well, they don't teach anything church as far as anything like that, but he's a Christian. He takes his responsibility seriously.
Just know that there was Christian influence in his decisions. So, John and Don, before you call up the show next Saturday or Sunday, you have to bring one piece of good information, a happy story to the air.
Oh, I can do that, but before I even talk to any of you, Don needs to tell me what plantation he worked for and what crops he picked, along with his parents and his great-great-grandparents all the way up to slavery. And Jane, you need to list all the lynchings that have happened in America, the hundreds and hundreds and thousands of lynchings.
I just saw that they still happen recently. I would say there would probably be like 2 a year. I don't think they happen every damn day.
You guys talk out of your ass, and you slide on it.
Don, they don't happen every day. People don't lynch people in America. They blow their brains out.
Right. I'm going
to look it up while you guys are talking because I got to go to FedEx in less than an hour, so we're going to have to wrap this show up anyway. So you guys keep talking while I look it up.
Well, Randall King had told the police officer, or told the person that interviewed him for this law enforcement today. He said, we need police. I talked to the boys a lot about how to interact with police, and in fact, several of them want to go into law enforcement. People who say they think the police should be better. Well, why don't they become police and make it better then? Some people ask me why I encourage my boys to be pigs, and that's just ignorant.
Well, I wonder what's going to happen in the Derek Chauvin case.
I don't know.
Because from what I understand, they could have gone for a lesser charge, such as manslaughter or negligent, behavior. Instead, they went for a first degree, like nail him to the wall. And the problem they have is that George Floyd had enough fentanyl to kill himself a couple of times through. So the problem they're going to run into is they can't say 100% sure he killed him. They could say his behavior led to his death and certainly didn't help in any way. But George Floyd already said, I can't breathe before this all got to the one-on-one confrontation with him, or actually the 4 cops on one confrontation. So that's going to be problematic also because the jury has to consider, have I ever been a cop? Have I been in a dangerous situation? What was the protocol? Were they allowed to put a knee on the neck, which apparently they are, especially if a person resists arrest? And obviously,
well, he has to be put on the ground. He has to be put on the ground because he couldn't breathe. He put me on the ground. Put me on the ground. They have audio of him asking to be put on the ground, so they put him on the ground. And then they used the training that they had. So I think there may have been a contributing factor as far as the way that he was held down after asking to be put down, or on the ground. So there's that as far as contributing, because of the already taking place in a system was a reaction to the drugs, and intensified the heart rate and everything else. So it's just such a messed up situation, because it's like, to say, okay, he has a criminal history, violent history, okay. And so we can say the decisions that he made along the way of his life led him to this point. But then again, if there are other contributing factors, which they did suspect that he was on something, but they didn't know what, and he wouldn't answer as far as if he had taken anything. And it wasn't until later that they found the drugs in the back of the car, that half chew something or other ball or something, speedball, I guess. So cops' instincts are pretty good. You can pretty much tell if somebody's on something, maybe, as far as have a suspicion if their behavior is erratic, and his was. So I think that the position that they held him in, was a contributing factor to his death. That's not to say that he wouldn't have died in his cell or during booking or whatever else, but it certainly didn't help.
What made it bad was all they had to do was, first of all, once you handcuff the person, what's the guy going to do? Like headbutt you to death? I mean, he wasn't in a helpless situation. I know I've been handcuffed once before, and it's one of those feelings like, okay, they're going to cuff me, and from this point they can do anything they want to me. Unless I'm a super martial arts expert and I'm Tom Cruise or something, and I have a film crew creating special effects, I'm not going to be able to jump in the air, flip my hands over the head, and grab the gun and run away. I mean, it's a very helpless situation. You just pray to God. I hope they're not dirty. I hope they're not going to plant drugs on me. I hope one of them doesn't like to rape Latino males with handcuffs on, because that's what goes through your mind. It's like, they can do anything they want with me. So he was a big guy. Yes, he was high, but there's a certain point you got him cuffed, and so you put him on the ground. Fine, put him on the ground if he's resisting. But at that point, you don't have to put the knee on the neck. And after 2 minutes, if the guy's not breathing, this is a no-brainer. I mean, if you're working with anyone, if someone says, hey, you should check the pulse, and the guy stops moving, that's a signal, like, let off. You don't have to have the knee on there. And because, again, you're a servant of the public. You're a professional. So this isn't like me working at a store, working in the parking lot. No, I had a beef with someone and I put them down and I didn't know what I was doing. These are people who are trained to respond with first aid, with mothers delivering, with someone who has a gunshot wound. They know vital signs. They know how to react with it. So Derek definitely screwed up the whole deal. He made such a disaster.
There was also it was a big kerfuffle, because initially when George Floyd was arrested, he didn't resist. They handcuffed him, and when they went to put him in the car, or the van, or the SUV, whatever, at that point he had started to panic. And he said he couldn't breathe. Then he started with, it's my mom's birthday, and it wasn't his mom's birthday. And he just started rambling with different stuff that didn't make any sense as far as, you're lying type thing. And so they're like, okay, so you said you can't breathe. What if we put on the air conditioner? Or roll down the windows? Will that help? Will that make you feel better? If we do that? And he's like, no, I can't get in. I can't get in. I can't breathe. And then he had asked to be put on the ground. Well, at that point, during testimony, they said that they had called dispatch for an ambulance, because there was obviously something going on with this dude. And that dispatch didn't called the ambulance, or the EMTs immediately. So there was a delay there. They didn't arrive for 19 minutes. And they're like right around the corner. So that was a problem. So there were a lot of different things that led to that 2 minutes. They had audio from the crowd, because the crowd was yelling at the officers that were holding him down, telling you if they don't get off of him, you're going to slap you like a fucking bitch.
Are you talking about Derek Chauvin and George Floyd?
Mm-hmm. So it didn't have to happen.
They've had police testify this week saying that there's no police protocol that you'll kneel on someone's neck 9 minutes.
Right. Well, on the neck, yes, but they had the other video that showed the other angle, that it wasn't on the neck, that it was between the shoulder blades, and that's actually police procedure. But the whole delay, as far as the amount of time that he did, was not something that they do. So you're right there. But again, when you have a crowd just shouting at you, their video, time's going by, the ambulance didn't get dispatched or the EMTs didn't get dispatched like they were supposed to. So there's a lot of commotion going on. They're waiting for the ambulance. And it never showed. Or
So what do you
showed
think?
up. By then he was already dead.
I do have the information on the lynchings, but Suzette, what do you think could have been done better by the Minneapolis police?
I agree with John. I don't think that they should have held him down. He asked to be put on the ground, but not to be held down the way he was. I don't think that was appropriate amount of force that was required for that moment, because he wasn't resisting at that point. He just asked to be put on the ground because he couldn't breathe. And so he was handcuffed. So he could have easily just been laying there on the ground, fine, no problem, waiting for the EMTs to come without anybody leaning on him, pressing on him, or touching him.
Yeah, John and I talked about this a year ago, and he said once somebody is handcuffed, it's only a matter of time till they're going to settle down. Like, they might wriggle around a few seconds, or maybe 30 seconds, but eventually they're going to stop wiggling, and they're not a threat to anybody once they're handcuffed.
I agree.
So I went.
If they try to make a run for it, they're not going to get very far because it's so awkward to run with handcuffs.
I agree. Hey, Don, are you there still?
I'm still here.
Yeah,
Don Gallimore, from 1882 to 1968. And by the way, this is the NAACP History of Lynching webpage. 4,743 lynchings occurred in the U.S. Of these amounts, 72% were black, 27% were white, about 1,300 whites were lynched, and they were mainly whites helping blacks that were lynched. Since that time, the black history, the NAACP has many things you can click on, but on the lynching section, they stopped talking about it after 1968.
Because it hasn't happened.
I'm sure there's maybe 3 weird oddball lynchings a year somewhere that are either reported or not, but there's no way that there's lynchings in America every day. There isn't. I'm sorry to tell you.
Lynchings don't necessarily just pertain to black folks. We're talking about
I'm just saying, blacks are treated crappy still, but it doesn't have to be a lynching. They could be denied housing or a job promotion. I mean, we don't want to open that can of worms at 1:12 in the morning in Minnesota, but I'm just saying,
I'm talking about straight lynching. I'm talking about jobs. I'm not talking about...
I know, I'm just saying, I don't know where you're getting your data, because it's not true.
What? Honey, there were 3 lynchings that happened in a succession the day before.
But me and Albert talked about that till our face was blue, and one of them was determined. One was out there in Victorville area. One was in the Victorville area, and they never determined if it was a lynching by another party or a family-driven motive or something like that.
They said that was a suicide.
And you know what? I would even say they were suicides, but even if not, let's call it a lynching. 1 lynching or 3 lynchings in 50 years. That's nothing. There more people die from slipping off a ladder or taking aspirin.
There have not been 7 lynchings in 20 years or something. There have been much more than that.
Oh, I know. Every weekend, Don. Every weekend.
Not every weekend either.
Every day people get shot and killed.
Okay, you know what? Jesus is coming to rescue the earth, and all the people who sinned and killed people are going to get punished.
And
if you're on a talk show, political talk show to discuss things, You need to bring facts. You need to bring logic. You need to make sense. Anything done. It's like you're saying millions, saying every day people die from
logic. They're made by white people.
Right. Now,
no one.
Yeah, Don, green aliens from another planet are killing
I am going to
people.
click the end show button pretty soon here.
Oh, you call me the conspiracy guy with the big
not because of you, John. This topic is infuriating.
Because Don holds on to these.
And we talk about cops beating up old ladies in Walmart instead. I'm just not up for it.
Oh, wait a second. Jussie Smollett. That's the one, of course. Remember that?
Okay, John, no more conspiracy bullshit.
Oh, Jussie.
Jussie Smollett has no power. Only Miley Cyrus does, my hero.
Right.
Okay. We're doing our conclusions now, and each person is going to name one thing they want everything in America to change in the next couple of years. One thing you want to see different in America.
I'll go first. I can tell you this show shows exactly why there will never be peace on the world. There will never be fairness or honesty.
Amen.
Because one person or both parties will have a viewpoint, and it goes to their value system, and whatever your value system, it overrides logic, it overrides reason. And by that I mean, if I think that everyone should have a pony and be a princess and live in a castle, it doesn't matter what reality is. I talked to a person this week who said, you know what? You're not alpha enough for me. You're too beta. And I said, do you know how many, in a pack of dogs, how many alphas there are? There's one and maybe two, the one that challenges. The rest are followers. You can't have 50 alphas. But see, that value system of everyone's got to be an alpha or be a leader, that overrides logic. So that's what I'm saying tonight is what we saw are several talking points that when it came to logic and facts, it went to instead personal value of what a person thinks is fair or should be. And as long as you have that, it's just never going to happen. I can only tell you one thing. God is the ultimate authority, and the only way there will be peace and love and harmony is when God, as a dictator, takes over. God doesn't act. He won't rule by saying, well, I think you might.
You shouldn't describe God as a dictator, just he's a supreme being.
No, he is a dictator. You will bow, the knee will bow and confess Jesus is Lord. And the only reason we respect God is like with the Jews, is because he came down with a fire. He flooded the earth, and he's going to take it by fire next time. People don't give a rip about God. They curse his name all day long. Almost, and people that even love God, I've heard.
I only do when I'm driving.
There you go. And what I'm saying is we don't respect God until we're dying and gagging on our last breath. And the only reason we respect him
I
is
respect them. I just don't respect the drivers around me.
Well, what I'm saying is that if he wasn't all powerful, we would just go screw him. I think he's unfair. I think his rules suck. I don't like the way life is. That's what people feel anyway, even with him being all powerful. So that's my conclusion.
Okay, well, Don, I want to say something to Don just so he's not upset. Don,
nothing upset.
You do make a lot of valid points on this show, but sometimes I notice when you call the show in and you're tired that you just kind of... No, this is true, because I've noticed it. Sometimes you just kind of beeline to your common narrative of just, your mantra.
Okay.
Like just throwing those, your political jargon in at random points. Now, everybody knows black people have been oppressed. It's a major
No, they
negative.
don't, John.
It's a bleeding scar in our country that is reopened almost every day. But we do know, and I support black people. I have a black child.
Mexicans are oppressed more than blacks. In China, blacks are more oppressed. Everyone's more oppressed in China. China doesn't care what race you are, only yellow. All that matters. You go to the Middle East, then you doesn't matter what color of skin, you will be oppressed if you're not Middle Eastern. If you're Persian Jew, if you don't speak Farsi, you're oppressed. When I go to the 99er, I don't speak fluent Spanish. I'm halfway in. I have a customer that comes in every day and says, "Hey, Wedo." It's kind of a joke. Yeah, half breed. Hey, white and brown or whatever, or white boy. The point is, and I laugh it off. I go, "Hey, musculito, hey, muscle man," and because I don't let it bother me, and we joke around with it. And otherwise, it would get ugly. It would be, alpha dog thing, and it would be a bad situation. The point is, he's Hispanic. I'm half Hispanic. I get it from my community. So I don't know what Don's talking about. Oh, it's all the white man. It's like I get oppressed by Mexicans. It doesn't. I get oppressed by black people. Biased against me because I'm half white or whatever. I don't.
Okay. Let Don talk now because he needs to say something too.
Oh no, I've said my thing. I'm good. I'm getting ready to eat my ice cream. Finish looking at the news, pray, and go to bed because I've had a huge week. And
what did you do today, Don? Were you traveling?
Is it vanilla
me
ice cream
today
or chocolate?
Yeah, did you travel today?
No, I was working out much of the day, so there was a lot. I did a lot of exercise. But I've been in the legislature, and we're trying to make sure that we continue pushing the logical bills, the logical people's ideas, because criminal justice, we're trying not to. But criminal justice is the primary theme this year, and we are trying not to defund the police like everyone's crying that we did. We're trying to just make sure that the laws are conformed to civilized society.
Sorry about that.
Mm-hmm. So that's what's going on. But I just want to make sure that everybody understands that blacks are not stealing because we, in reparations, we are owed for free labor for 200 years. And anybody in their right mind knows that there's going to have to be some kind